Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with the video. Hey guys, I need some advice on whether or not I'm in the wrong here. So here's what happened. I was planning my dream wedding and everything was going perfectly fine. I was so excited to marry my fiancé, who I'd been with for 3 years. However, things took a turn for the worse when my future mother-in-law started to act strange. She would always make comments about how I was spoiling her son and how I was too high maintenance for him. At first, I didn't think much of it because I knew they had a very close relationship. Like, he's very much of a mama's boy, which I had come to terms with earlier in the relationship. But then she did something that I just couldn't overlook. The day before the wedding, I was getting my hair done as a test for the actual wedding and was waiting for my makeup artist to come in. I was staying at a hotel for the days leading up to the wedding and had my dress stored in the hotel room as well. My mother-in-law came into the room because she said she wanted to see how beautiful I looked and give me advice on my hair and makeup for the wedding. She made some fake small talk and told me my hair looked really good, but that I needed to fix the back of my head. She told me to go to the bathroom mirror to check it out and fix it, so I did. I was trying to figure out for a while what she meant, but the hair looked good to me at all angles. I called my mother-in-law to the bathroom to show me what was wrong with my hair, and when she came, she said it looked all good now. She was suddenly in a hurry and told me she had an appointment, so she had to leave. When I went back to the hotel room, the dress was lying on the bed like before, but now it had a big red wine stain on it that hadn't been there before. I immediately knew it must have been my mother-in-law. The wine didn't spill itself after all. I instantly called my mother-in-law, but she didn't pick up. I was so angry and hurt. I still don't understand why she would do something like that, but instead of confronting her right away, I decided to keep quiet and collect evidence. I didn't want to cause a scene right away. I did, however, tell my fiancé about what happened. As I said, he's a bit of a mama's boy, so he didn't really believe me at first. He called his mom to ask her about it. On the phone, his mom admitted to spilling the wine, but she said it was a bad accident and that she was so sorry and that she would pay for the cleaning. My fiancé actually believed her too, which is the worst part. My mother-in-law is well aware that cleaning my wedding dress is not possible anymore at this point. The wedding starts the next morning and all the cleaners are closed now. So my fiancé and I decided to cancel the wedding. I'm honestly so upset and hurt that the wedding is not going to happen. I've planned everything, but it's even worse than my fiancé thinks I'm wrong for blaming his mom. He's mad at me now for accusing her of doing it on purpose, but I just know that she did it to stop the wedding from happening. So, am I the a-hole for blaming my mother-in-law right away? Should I have given her the benefit of the doubt? I just don't know what to do. Update 1. After getting some sleep, I decided to go to the hotel staff and ask them if there were any cameras in the room where the incident happened. They told me that there was a camera. My mother-in-law didn't know about it. I was relieved to hear that because it meant that I had proof of what had happened. I asked the staff to give me a copy of the footage and they agreed to do so. When the next day came, I sat down with my fiancé and his mother to show them the footage. My hands were shaking with nervousness as I played the video. I hadn't watched the footage before and I was scared that I could be wrong and that it was just an accident. We all watched it in silence as my mother-in-law spilled the wine all over my dress. Her smile and then quick attempts at pretending it was an accident were visible on camera. As the footage ended, my fiancé sat there in silence for a moment. I could see his anger building up, and it was clear that he was struggling to process what he had just seen. My mother-in-law looked shocked and ashamed, but there was still a hint of defiance in her eyes. "I don't know what came over me," was her excuse. She told me she was just feeling so stressed and overwhelmed with everything that she couldn't help herself. What a dumb excuse. My fiancé was having none of it. He told her that he was not trying to have toxic people like her ruin our wedding and relationship. He told her she was uninvited from the wedding and he doesn't want to talk to her at all for a while. My mother-in-law started to cry then, but my fiancé remained firm in his decision. He stood up and told her that he needed some time to think over things and that he didn't want her to contact him until he was ready. As we left the room, my fiancé turned to me and hugged me tightly. He told me he was sorry for not believing me and that he was going to make it up to me somehow. Despite the hurt and disappointment that I'm feeling at the moment, I can't help but feel grateful for my fiancé's support. However, in the back of my mind, I'm also worried about what this means for our future together. Will we ever have a healthy relationship with his mom, my mother-in-law? It's a scary thought that the relationship might be tainted for a long time. But for the moment, I'm trying to push it to the back of my mind and focus on the present. Update 2. A few days later, I received a call from my mother-in-law. I was hesitant to pick up the phone, but I didn't want to ignore her either. When I answered, she immediately started apologizing for what happened. She said that she's sorry for spilling the wine and that she didn't mean to ruin my dress. She also admitted that she was under a lot of stress because of the upcoming wedding and that she was afraid of losing her son to me. At first, I didn't know what to say. Part of me was angry and hurt, and I didn't want to forgive her. But another part of me felt sorry for her and wanted to give her a chance to make things right. So I told her that I appreciated her apology, but that it will take me some time to really forgive her and move on. My mother-in-law seemed relieved that I was willing to forgive her, but she understood that it was going to take some work to regain my trust. We talked for a little while longer, and I could tell that she was genuinely sorry for what had happened. She promised to make it up to me and do whatever it takes to make things right. After we hung up, I felt a mixture of emotions. On the one hand, I'm glad that my mother-in-law has apologized and that we are on the path to forgiveness. But then again, I can't help but wonder if she really has changed or if she's just trying to get back into her son's life through me. Over the next few weeks, my mother-in-law made a concerted effort to reach out to me and make things right. She sent me flowers, apologized again, paid for the dry cleaning of my dress, and helped us pay for the second wedding we were planning after the first one was canceled. Slowly but surely, I am beginning to trust her again and feel more comfortable around her. Even if she is doing all of this just to get back into my fiancé's life, I feel like she has probably learned by now that being toxic toward me is just going to push her son away from her more. Right now, I'm excited about the wedding and I'm so happy everything is fine between me and my fiancé. He's the most important person to me, so I'm glad that he's also able to repair his relationship with his mom. Update 3. The wedding was a few days ago. We decided to keep the guest list small and only invited people who were truly supportive of us. We also had a backup dress just in case. My mother-in-law was there at the wedding. We re-invited her after she's been good to us. And she behaved for once. It was a really beautiful ceremony and experience in general, and I'm super excited to be married to the love of my life now. I'm hoping that things with my mother-in-law will continue to get better and that we can get along well in the future. I told her that I don't want to take her son away from her and that they can still do things together as mother and son without me being involved all the time. This whole experience has also taught me to be more cautious and aware of people's intentions, even if they're family. But also to forgive as soon as you can because things can get better. NTA, your mother-in-law is a total nightmare. I can't believe she would stoop so low as to ruin your wedding dress on purpose. And your fiancé initially siding with her? That's just unbelievable. You did the right thing by standing up for yourself and providing evidence. Don't let her manipulate you into coming back if you don't want to. NTA. Wow, just wow. I'm so sorry you had to go through this on what should have been the happiest day of your life. Your mother-in-law's behavior was unacceptable. I would be furious if my mother-in-law pulled something like that one day before the wedding. I hope she's truly sorry and you guys can have a good relationship in the future. Congrats on getting married, by the way. All the best to you and your husband. NTA, this is some serious drama. I can't even imagine how you must have felt at that moment. It's good that access to the security cameras were able to catch her in the act. Imagine if you didn't have the footage and your fiance would have just sided with your mother-in-law and it would have never been cleared up. It's clear that your mother-in-law has some major issues she needs to work on, and it's not your responsibility to fix them. Stand your ground and don't let anyone make you feel guilty for standing up for yourself. Next story. Me, 28 female, so-called friend, 29 female, and I had a fight a few weeks ago when I found out that she said horrible things about me to another friend. The thing is, I had a terrible father who abandoned me when I was a baby, and I'm not going to try and deny it, that it affected me a lot. I only had 2 relationships and both were with people old enough to be my father, and I know that has to do with my past because I go to therapy for it. But that doesn't mean that I don't love my husband, 55, male, or that we have a horrible relationship and that's what apparently my friend never understood and that's why she said those things. She told another friend that we have in common that my husband disgusts her because he is too affectionate with me and she doesn't like that. That she believes that I cheated on him and that our baby and the one I'm expecting are not his but another man's because he is too old to make babies. That the times I talked about how good he is in bed, I lied because it's not possible for someone his age to be good at that. That I shouldn't have been a mother because I messed up in the head, thanks to my father, and that hurt me because she knows how hard I tried to get pregnant and how much I love and protect my baby. And although that hurt, nothing hurt me more than knowing that she was using me all this time. She also told our friend that the only thing she likes about being my friend is that my husband has contacts, and that makes everything easier for all my friends and family. She said that because thanks to my husband and she and her husband have new jobs. And that pissed me off so much that the first thing I did was tell my husband and ask him to tell his brother to fire her and her husband. He talked to his brother and he's going to fire them, and that made me feel better because I think it's what she deserved. But my mom thinks I was too harsh. That I should have given her another chance because maybe she just had a bad day when she said all of that, but I don't think so. Am I the a-hole for that? ESH. Your friend is toxic and talks a lot of crap, but what you did to her and her husband is just plain disgusting. The fact that you told your husband to tell his brother to fire them is just plain awful. The fact that they did your bidding is shocking. The fact that you are sitting here not even getting the fact that you were just plain wrong is astounding. Cut off the friendship, tell her off, etc., but to mess with their livelihood is downright disgusting, IMO. I am sorry, but NTA. People can't reap the rewards of having you in their life, but basically make it obvious they were using you. It seems she was acting as your friend to use your connections. What if it was a car you were leasing for her or an apartment you were renting to her? Would you let her keep it after all of this because it affects her life negatively if she doesn't have it? Nope. Nepotism has a negative connotation for a reason, and anyone who says you suck needs to realize that actions have consequences. A person can go to McDonald's and get their livelihood through their own hard work, just like everyone else. Getting it handed to you for who you know and not earning it and then throwing that person under the bus is disgusting, not the other way around. Next story. I, 31, male, have 2 kids, 14 female and 13 male, Anna and Kaysen, with my ex, 31 female. Married at 18 but got divorced just a few months after. It was mutual. I got married to my current wife 9 years ago. We have 4 kids together, 10 female, 8 male, 5 female, and 2 male. On Christmas, my children spend the morning at their mom's house and come to my house a bit after noon. I also have my siblings and parents here and their children. My wife is an only child, so her parents also come, and they love their step grandchildren and spend an equal amount on them as their four bio grandkids. They love seeing Anna's artwork or going to Kaysen's baseball games. Anna has had a harder time adjusting than Kaysen, who will say he enjoys having two Christmases. Kaysen hasn't had any issues with his stepmom and step-grandparents besides typical teenage behavior. Anna, however, can be pretty disrespectful to them. Kaysen has a friend named Hans, 13, male. Hans is also openly gay, but not super feminine, but also not super masculine. Hans is on the school cheer team and is a gymnast. He also likes traditionally masculine sports like baseball and football. Hans, my son, and his other friends are all really close to each other, though, discussing baseball, football, and other sports. As I mentioned, Kaysen is on the baseball team. Hans was born in the US, but his parents are Norwegian immigrants and all their family lives in Norway. His family in Norway got sick, so they couldn't do Christmas together. Hans was feeling lonely, texted some of the guys, and Kaysen asked if he could come over, which my wife and I agreed to. Hans came over and he was wearing a Pride shirt that had a baseball on it and had baseball-themed painted nails. He got the shirt earlier that day. Shortly after Hans came over, my wife and I had to run to 7-Eleven to get a few things. We put my mother-in-law and father-in-law in charge. They were in the living room watching the little ones. Anna had come out on the couch and was FaceTiming her friends. She was talking about her brother and Hans and told her friends that Hans was wearing a fag shirt and made sexist comments about him wearing nail polish. As soon as they heard that, my father-in-law and mother-in-law told Anna to get off the phone and threatened to shut the Wi-Fi off if she didn't. As soon as the wife and I got home, they told us to sit down and said what Anna did. They asked for her phone, but she refused, saying that they weren't her real grandparents. And then, when the wife and I asked for the phone, she called my wife a bitch before handing it over. I told her she needed to write an apology letter to both my wife, her grandparents, and Hans. After that happened, my older sisters defended her, saying the divorce was hard on her and that I should be more considerate of her feelings. They also blamed her homophobia on her just being jealous of how happy Kaysen and Hans are. She's in therapy, but was still mean. I'm wondering if I was too harsh. AITA? NTA, but I would have handled it way differently. You're not anywhere near the write an apology letter stage. You were at the calmly sit down and explain to her in simple, cold, methodical, dispassionate detail why she did something wrong place. If she's still holding on to shit for this long, you have to look at your parenting methods and ask why she's acting out or hasn't progressed to be a compassionate person. Superficially, you're asking for apology theater, when in reality what she needs is to dispassionately understand the nuts and bolts of the situation and let her own conscience be her guide. I mean, you rob kids of agency. They rebel. You force them into shallow, superficial apologies. They will make grandiose, negative theatrics the norm. Your older sisters are talking out of their ass and should shut up. Try a different approach with her. She's telling you something and has been for quite some time. You're not listening to it. NTA, your daughter may be adjusting after a divorce and that is fine. I mean, it has been 9 years, but there isn't a timeline for getting over some stuff. It may also be your ex-wife feeding into her crap, but there is never a reason to be disrespectful to guests in the home when they have not been disrespectful to her. It would be one thing if your mother-in-law and father-in-law were yelling at her over things they had no business, or if Hans was being a little jerk, which teenage boys can be. You were there, you know, but that isn't what this sounds like. I really hope your sister isn't defending homophobia. I mean, what if it turns out your son and Hans are more than friends at some point? I know the older generation, the one we're both in, might have some catching up to do in that department, but being homophobic to your son's friend was a bridge too far for your daughter. Everything taken together, the homophobia, absolute disrespect to mother-in-law and father-in-law, and her stepmom, your wife, was something that justified your punishment. NTA, NTA, NTA. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationship.